Hello everybody, my name's Dave. Today we're going to be installing a Midaco pallet changer on a Haas VF4. We're going to start off with the cutout for the door. First thing you need to do to get started, you need to remove this door. I like to use a block of wood. I want to get it in place here. Take like a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and we just want to separate this from the bottom piece here. Remove that from the bottom. Slide the piece of plexiglass up to the top. And you want to give this to the customer, that way they have a spare in case something ever happens to the other side. So now we want to find the center of our table. On this table, it looks like we're going to be 10 1/4 inches to center line. Got to make sure we see 10 1/4 from that side of the table and 10 1/4 from the other side. Okay, so first and foremost, anytime you want to get inside the machine tool, you want to make sure we're E-stop. So I've already done that. Then I'm going to get inside and also make sure we're at 10 1/4 on the back for a straight edge. Just ensure that everything's true and straight. Here we are at 10 1/4, 10 1/4. So we're straight through all the way through, and next we'll take a look at the outside. Okay, so now what we want to do is come from the outside lip of the sheet metal to find out where we are centered on here. So in here it looks like we're 23 1/4 to center. So now you want to drag your tape measure down, you want to come to 23 1/4 and mark our center line. Okay, so now we have our center line. We know that's the center of our cutout right here. Alright, so now we want to determine the bottom of our cutout. In order to do so, we need two dimensions. First, from the top of the cam to the bottom of the bed. So we come here, take here to the bottom of the bed. We're at 10 3/4. Okay, and the second dimension we need to know is that the receiver unclamped to the top of the table is 4 1/4. Okay, so if we come down here, you know this is the bottom of our machine table. We want to be at 4 1/4 there. So we know this is going to be the top of our cam here, and down here we're at 4 1/4. Now from 4 1/4, our other dimension was 10 3/4. Once you have your 4 1/4 to the top of the machine table, then you're looking for 10 3/4 down here. And mark our 10 3/4. Okay, so now we want to measure from the top of the sheet metal to where we just marked for the bottom of our cutout. And we want to come all the way across. Straight edge. We want to line it up and make sure all of our lines match. Draw our bottom cutout line. So now we've established our bottom of our cutout. Okay, so now what we want to do is find our width. So we go from here to here, which we look to be about 39 1/4. So now we're going to go, we want to divide 39 1/4. So we're going to be at 19 5/8. So we'll come from the center line. 19 5/8. Mark that. 19 5/8. And then you want to go the other side. 19 5/8. Then we want to do the same thing coming up the machine. Once you know where we're at. Okay, so next what we want to do is determine the height of our bed. So we're at 9 3/4 here. So now what we want to do is transfer that over to here. So we want to go over to our center line, and we want to come up 9 3/4. line, which is 43 inches. And we're only going for a 9 3/4 there. So we know we're top of our bed is going to be right here. So we'll go back over to our straight edge. Come up. Establish our cutout. Okay, so now we've established we're 9 3/4 inches up here, which is from here to here. Okay, so next we need to establish our inside cut, and we want to leave a little bit of room because you want your sheet metal to overlap a little bit over the door. It's better to be over a little than inside here. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to get our inside depth here. So from this lip. We want to be inside of here just a little bit. So we want to be right at about, looks like about 1 3/4 looks like a good measurement. That way we're inside here just a little bit. So we're going to come back over our cutout. We want to come over at the same dimension, 1 3/4. We want to mark it there. Okay, so now we want to go 1 3/4 inches from this line over, which is right about here. Okay. Now we'll take our straight edge here. So next we want to make sure that we're just below the light here. This is how we're going to determine our top of the cutout. We want to be just below the light so you don't have any light coming through. Now we want to measure from our right side of our sheet metal over, and it looks like we're at 44 3/4. So now we want to make several tick marks at 44 3/4 to ensure we have a straight line. We'll go to 44 3/4. We'll go to 44 3/4. We'll go to 44 3/4. So now we'll take our straight edge, line it up with the little tick marks that we just put on there. Same on the other side. Okay, so now that we've double checked all of our dimensions and made sure everything's accurate, we're going to drill a couple of holes in the corners to make easier access for our sawzall. So we just want to kind of get in the corner and make sure we're not going beyond our dimensions. Okay, now that we have a couple access holes established here from our hole saw bit, we're going to take our sawzall and come in and start here, make our cutout. It's important to keep in mind that we have this light inside here. We don't want to hit the power cord for the light, so we want to keep that in mind. That we do have this power cord here, and we just want to make sure we don't hit that. Be sure to move your table out of the way. It gives you easier access, and then once you get to the halfway point, you can always move it back. Okay, so once we've got our sheet metal all cut out, you want to take your grinder, and we're just going to come along and clean up our lines as much as possible. Obviously staying inside of the line we drew. Okay, now that we got everything all of our cut out nice and grind it down, and we can run our fingers along it and everything, we're going to do a nice clean up inside, outside the machine, tabletop, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so next we're going to prepare the machine table for the Midaco pallet changer receiver. So the first thing you want to do is lightly stone the machine table, make sure there's no burrs anymore. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is apply a light coat of oil to the machine table. Okay, so your Midaco receiver is always going to have eye bolts in it for lifting up the receiver. So the next thing we're going to do now is clean off the bottom of the receiver. And again, we'll lightly stone it and give it a light coat of oil also. Okay, now that we have a receiver in here on the table, we want to ring it in a little bit, make sure we get a good seal with the fresh oil on both sides. And then next we're gonna indicate it to 0 and we'll mount it to the table. Also keep in mind that you have to remove these two socket heads that hold on the clamp activator bar here. And then you can just drop them out, swing it out of the way, that way you're able to get to this hole here for the receiver hole. So you want to start by loosely putting our center bolts in, one here and one here. And then once you've done that, we want to go from the side and we want to make sure we have the table is centered as well as possible, roughly using a tape measure. So it looks like we're at about 11 and a 16th on the front and on this side. And then you also want to do the same front and back. So you're at 2 3/8, 2 3/8. And so forth, front, back. And now we're going to indicate it, make sure we're true, and then we will tighten everything down. Okay, the other thing you want to make sure you do is once you tighten down the bolts, you want to make sure you run it again and make sure you're still at 0. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do once you have your receiver mounted to the table nice, we're going to get our bracket up inside as nice and close to the outside bulkhead as possible. And you'll see why in a little bit, but that's where we're going to mount our flex conduit that has our air lines and our clamp switch. Okay, so now that we have our bracket installed on the back bulkhead here, we want to make sure that we can move our door back and forth without any interference. Okay, so next you want to use your supply strain relief. Just slide it in the T-slot. You want to get it up against the flex conduit here, and then we tighten it down. And basically what that's going to do is just keep the flex conduit taut and out of the way. So then what you want to do is take one of the provided zip ties, come around the flex conduit and the strain relief bolt that we just installed, and just zip it down. This is just to keep it in place. Once that's nice, then just cut the remaining piece out. So now what we want to do is get our position for our flex conduit fitting, which we want to put out of the way. So we want to make sure the machine table is all the way over in the Y axis, so we can make sure that once we have the fitting down here, we're not going to hit it. So probably right down about here is where we're going to want to make our cutout for the fitting. Okay, so your bulkhead fitting for your flex conduit is already on the flex conduit. So you just want to gently release the tabs on the side here. Make sure we can pull it off okay. Okay, so once we know where we want our flex conduit hose to go, we're gonna do a small pilot hole with an 1/8" drill bit. And then we'll come around on the other side with our hole saw. Okay, so next we want to move our machine table opposite of the pallet changer, where we're going to mount the pallet changer. So this is a right mount. So we're going to put the machine table as far back and to the left as possible. Now once we do that, then we're going to get a length on how far we want for our flex conduit to go into our holding piece. Now you don't want it tight, but you don't want it too loose either. Keep in mind you have 3 air lines as well as a clamp switch cable that goes through the flex conduit. So now what we want to do is once we have our distance laid out, Want to find a spot like we have here, then we're going to take a razor knife and we're going to cut the flex conduit around the air lines as well as the clamp switch and make sure we don't interfere with either one of those. So if you lay it like this, all of your air lines should be at the bottom. You can start with a small poke and then slowly kind of pull it together. This should be nice and easy here. Just want to make sure if you have a sharp knife, it'll work very easily. Okay, so we have our flex conduit routed now, and you can see this is about perfect. It's not loose enough to where it's laying on the weight covers, but it's also not too tight. There's a little bit of flexibility here. So then what you want to do is we're going to take our spring, we're going to run it down about mid-level here, and this is going to keep it so it's taut all the time. Go ahead and trim the remainder of the zip tie. There we go. Okay, so now that we have our flex conduit spring installed, we want to move the table around all four corners to make sure there's no interference anywhere with this flex conduit. Okay, so we're about to move this pallet changer up next to the CNC machine. So first we need to make sure we have all of our gasket material put in place. So you'll start at the top of the door here, and then we'll come all the way down to the bottom for the first piece. And we'll have a piece here, and then another piece like this. So let's get started. Okay, so now that we have all of our gasket material on the back of the door and everything's sealed up nice, now we want to ensure the pallet changer is raised up high enough so we can get this lip over the sheet metal on the mill. Okay, so when you're adjusting your height on the pallet changer, you have a couple set screws down here, so you want to loosen the set screws up. Then back off the jam nut. It's up against the sheet metal. So this will allow you to move the pallet changer up and down without moving the feet. So you can get your height adjusted that way. Okay, so this is the supplied air pressure regulator. We always recommend that you supply it between 90 and 110 psi. The right side on here is where you're going to your shop supply is going to come to the right side. So we also provide the fittings for you. So we just put one in here, and this side is going to supply the air to the pallet changer. Another thing I want to point out is we have an access panel on this side of the pallet changer. So if you remove all the fasteners in it, pull the panel out. This is going to allow access to the back side of the electrical cabinet. So on this side, on the back side of the electrical panel is where we're running our power to. And then on the front of the box is where you'll have all of your hookups, including your air and power. And also on the front control door, we have two fasteners on the bottom. If you remove those, you can actually lift the door up and over the motor, allow access to the manifold ports as well as the electrical ports. Next, you want to take your three air lines coming from the receiver as well as the clamp switch cable, and we're going to route them through the access panel at the back of the Midaco pallet changer. Okay, so once you have them coming through the access panel here, then we're going to kind of wrap them up a little bit, tie off any excess that you're not going to need, and we can just kind of zip tie that up to the other cables up above. Now we're ready to plug these into the front of the control box. Okay, I'd also like to point out that inside the Midaco cabinet, we also have a wiring diagram as well as a diagram for the manifold that shows you where you're going to put all of your air lines and all the proper locations. You're going to have 3 labeled air hoses, a 1, 2, and a 3. And if you look at your diagram, you'll see that line number 1 goes to the 3rd from the top on the right. Number 2 is going to go to the left of that one. And then our blow off, or line number 3, will go directly above in the center. Okay, so after you have your air lines installed, next you're going to take your clamp, unclamp switch from the receiver, and that's going to go to the 2nd port on the left. So over here on the right side, we have the power cable going into the Midaco, the air supply line, and then a J2 pigtail interface cable that we have here. So that's all you're going to have coming back here. This is going to plug into the side here, the machine tool. Okay, so once we have the pallet changer over the inside lift of the vertical mill, you want to make sure that we're level. So first you want to adjust your legs up and down until you have the back level. You also want to make sure your front is nice and level. And then once we're done with that, we're pretty good and a nice and tight fit over the inside of that lift there. And we want to make sure we're just slightly down. We want to make sure we're slightly down on the Midaco control door side. Okay, so once we got everything leveled, next we want to run our machine table all the way over in the X travel, and then we want to line up our cam on the load rail with the cam on the follower bars, and just make sure we got a good transfer there. Basically what we're looking for here is to be leveled. We don't want much of a bump here, but when we come back from our load rail here, we want a slight bump up onto this cam. So a slight bump up on this cam. So right now you can see we're barely moving this cam. So that's about what we're looking for. Now we're going to move the table over to the Y to the other side. Okay, so once we know that our shuttle and our load rail are both level, we want to take a look at the cams and just kind of make sure your follower bar cams line up with the cams on the receiver. In order to do so, really the best thing to do is step back and kind of just eyeball and make sure they go straight all the way down. Again, you're looking to line up these cams here with the cams on the receiver. Okay, so we're just making sure we're pretty good. Once we feel like we're pretty good to go, then we're going to record our Y position on both sides, and then we'll put a pallet on and make a good transfer. Okay, so once you get your pallet up here, we want to see how good we can transfer. So before we were doing pretty rough leveling. So now I can see it needs to come up a little bit more in the back here. So the most important part about adjusting the level is that you're doing the same on both sides. To ensure we have smooth transfers, you want to be able to use the pallet latch and push and pull there. Because that's how you're going to be doing it. The dog's going to be doing it that way. Nice in like that, nice out. Make sure you get both pallets to do that. Once we get that done, now it's time to bolt the machine to the floor. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to use a hammer drill with a 1/2 inch drill bit, masonry drill bit of course, and line it up and start drilling. Okay, so once we have the machine anchored down, next we want to make sure we still have good smooth transfers by hand. It may require some minor tweaking to the leveling. Okay, now that we've fine-tuned our leveling and got nice smooth pallet transfers by hand, we're ready to, and once we go ahead and put a pallet in, we set our clamp position. Now we're ready to go ahead and do A and B exchange. Okay, so now we're ready to mount the door to the machine tool. Certain CNC machines require door jamb spacers, so those will be provided if they're required for your vertical machine center. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drill a couple holes. There's two pre-drill holes in the Midaco door. Okay, so now that we have our holes drilled, we wanted to run our 1/4 20 with the butt head sight on the inside of the machine tool. It makes it look nice inside here. So we'll put the nut on here. So next what you're going to do is you're going to put your covers, door jamb covers on, and once those are on, then we're ready to start caulking to make sure we have a good tight seal. Take your supplied caulk and you're going to want to run a nice bead down here in between, and then you're going to want to come all the way up this whole seam here. This is going to make sure we don't have any coolant leakage in the future. Okay, so finally you're going to want to take your chip screws. You should have 4 of these are going to be located inside the box that comes with the pallets. What you'll want to do is you'll want to use your supplied fasteners, and you'll mount these right onto the pallet rails. What these are going to do is when the pallet goes in and clamps down to the receiver, it's going to keep so there's no chip. So chips aren't going to be able to build up on the pads. It's going to help us ensure our repeatability. Alright folks, so this concludes our Midaco pallet changer installation. You can reach us with any future needs at 847-593-8420. We do recommend that all of you dealers out there send your technicians in to the Midaco factory for certified training.